You've been blindfolded by politeness, distracted by her smile, while she's already playing the deeper game. Because here's the truth. Every woman who wants you will test your perception before she ever touches your skin. And if you don't see the signs, you lose before the game even begins. What you're about to uncover isn't theory. It's the language of seduction spoken without words, decoded through presence, tension, and subconscious warfare. And every point is extremely important to understand, especially the last one, because that final sign, that's the one she uses when she knows you're already slipping into her gravity. Now breathe in, because after this, you won't just read signals, you'll see everything. Sign 1. The locked gaze, prolonged eye contact. Her eyes don't just look at you, they lock onto something behind your eyes, like she's not just watching you, she's studying the man beneath the mask. But here's what most men never realize. This isn't eye contact, it's emotional penetration. Because when a woman prolongs her gaze, she's performing a silent scan, tracking your confidence, measuring your presence, and sending a subconscious probe deep into your nervous system. And it works because of one primal truth. The eyes are the most direct access point to the emotional brain. From the first moment of human bonding, between mother and infant, we are hardwired to respond to prolonged gaze with connection or submission. So when she locks in, even for a fraction longer than usual, she's testing your polarity. Does your gaze hold steady, or do you flinch and break it? Here's where the seduction begins. Not in what you say, but in what you don't look away from. But there's a second layer even deeper. Women use prolonged eye contact to implant emotional memory. The longer her eyes hold yours, the more your brain links her face with emotion. It builds a loop. Each glance intensifies the trance. Each second stretches the gravity. Now the real seduction isn't her looking at you. It's you noticing that she never looked away. What to do? Hold her gaze. Slow your breath. Let time distort. And when she smiles afterward, even subtly, that's not just a sign. That's a psychological signature. She's already begun the ritual. Sign 2. The closing distance, physical proximity. She doesn't ask to come closer. She just does. A shift in position, a lean that enters your field, a casual step into your invisible space. And you feel it, not as a move, but as a magnetic pull. Here's the truth behind it. When a woman begins to reduce the physical distance between you, it isn't casual, it's biological manipulation. Studies show that the closer someone gets, the more your nervous system activates oxytocin pathways, the same chemical responsible for trust and arousal. She might sit beside you when there's plenty of room elsewhere. She might stand just close enough for your arm hairs to feel her presence. She leans in, not to hear you, but to watch how you react. It's not proximity, it's a stress test. Because what she's measuring isn't just whether you're comfortable, it's whether your energy expands or contracts when she enters your orbit. Let's go deeper. In group settings, this tactic becomes even more refined. She doesn't isolate you, she orbits. She finds micro moments to align herself beside you, not to talk, not to engage, just to exist near you. Why? Because women seduce with space, long before they seduce with words. They understand that bodies speak truth long before mouths catch up. And if you flinch, step back, or lean away, the spell shatters. But if you hold position, if you remain still like a pillar while she drifts closer, you confirm what she's testing for, that you are immovable, that you are safe, that you are ready. The seduction doesn't happen in her move. It happens in your lack of retreat. Sign 3. The language of touch, playful contact. There are things a woman will never say because they weren't meant to be spoken. They were meant to be felt. And when she begins to touch you playfully, a hand brushing your arm, a tap on the chest mid-laughter, a casual grip on your wrist, she's not being friendly. She's marking territory without ever asking permission. Let's go deeper. Touch is the first language we ever learned. Long before we formed words, we understood presence through skin. So when a woman begins to initiate contact, especially lightly, repetitively, and without provocation, she's activating limbic resonance. That means your body starts syncing with hers, whether you like it or not. This is biological hypnosis, and she knows it. But most men make a mistake here. They assume it's accidental, or worse, dismiss it as meaningless. Here's what they don't know. Women are neurologically calibrated to the nuances of touch. A hand on your back isn't support, it's a signal. A tap on your thigh isn't playfulness, it's permission. Touch allows her to test the waters without risk, because if you reject it, she can retreat into deniability. But if you allow it, if you respond with matching energy, subtle, light, mirrored, then the ritual escalates. But here's where it gets lethal. If her touches are frequent and her fingertips pause just a second longer than needed, she's not experimenting, she's escalating. Every touch is a seed planted in your nervous system, and she's watching to see what grows. This is no longer about attraction, it's about entrainment, about syncing bodies before syncing hearts. Respond not with words, but with presence. Mirror her tempo, match her intensity. Let her know you felt it too, and you're not afraid of the current. Sign 4, the mirror compliment. Flattery with precision. She says you're funny, but it's not about the joke. She says you're smart, but it's not about the facts. She compliments your energy, your posture, the way you pause before speaking, and suddenly you feel seen, like she's been watching you from behind the curtains all along. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Compliments are a mirror, and when a woman starts reflecting qualities that go beyond the surface, she's not describing you, she's describing how she feels around you. This is psychological transference, a deep seduction tactic embedded in precision flattery. Her words are weapons, crafted to cut past your ego and land in the quiet space between your identity and your becoming. So when she says things like, "I love how calm you are when everyone else is tense," you always notice the little things. There's just something about the way you carry yourself. She's not just praising you, she's revealing the version of you she's already falling for, and she's doing it with surgical precision. But there's more. These compliments create cognitive dissonance, because your brain begins to ask, if she sees this in me, is that who I really am? That's when the spell deepens. Her compliments become blueprints for a new identity. And if you accept them, you're not just flattered, you're altered. That's the secret no one tells you. A woman's deepest seduction isn't through touch or eye contact. It's when she slowly rewrites your self-image through praise that feels too real to ignore. Now here's your move. Don't deflect, don't downplay. Accept her words with eye contact, calm silence, or a subtle, "I noticed that in you too." Why? Because in that moment, you're not exchanging compliments, you're exchanging visions. And when those visions align, seduction becomes inevitability. Sign 5, the full focus lock, undivided attention. There's a silence that forms between two people when one of them is no longer listening, but absorbing. And when a woman begins to give you her complete attention, when her eyes don't flick to the room, her body doesn't fidget, and her energy folds inward toward you, you've just triggered one of her most sacred seduction patterns. But this isn't politeness. This is hyper-focus, a limbic response tied directly to emotional investment. When a woman finds herself genuinely drawn to a man, her brain switches from scanning mode to immersion mode. And immersion means every detail matters, every word sticks, every breath changes the emotional tone. This is why she remembers what you said last week in passing, why she brings up a story you forgot you told, why she asks questions that feel like she's mapping the internal structure of your mind. She's not just listening, she's embedding. She's building rapport loops, trance spirals of continuity, and with every layer, she makes herself more memorable to you, while anchoring you deeper into her emotional web. But here's the hidden mechanism. Her focus is both a gift and a test. Because if you fumble, if you rush, dodge, or fail to notice her hyper-presence, she'll retreat. But if you match her depth, if you lower your voice, slow your cadence, and respond to her attention by giving yours in return, something profound begins to unfold. You create a closed loop, a private psychological field that neither of you want to leave. And that's when the world disappears. No distractions, no background noise. Just the quiet hum of two psyches tuning to the same frequency. When that happens, she's not just trying to seduce you. She's already halfway in. Sign 6, the smile that says nothing, but everything. Subtle smiling. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It arrives like heat on your neck in a still room. That smile, not wide, not obvious, but slow, almost secret, like a code passed in plain sight. And the moment you notice it, your chest tightens, your mind pauses. Because it's not just a smile, it's a signal, a lockpick, a soft trigger embedded with permission. Let's decode what most never see. When a woman smiles in this way, slightly parted lips, softened eyes, lingering pause, it activates your mirror neurons, causing your own physiology to begin mimicking her emotional state. That's not coincidence. That's neuroseduction. She's not waiting for a response. She's altering your state. Here's the psychological core. The slow, subtle smile is not reactive. It's intentional. It bypasses your logic and lands directly in the autonomic nervous system. You may feel calmer, or warmer, or suddenly more self-aware, as if someone just read a part of you you weren't ready to share, because she's not smiling at what you said. She's smiling at who you are becoming in her presence. But here's the twist. That smile is also a challenge, a silent dare, a pull. It asks, do you have the awareness to notice me? The stillness to hold the tension? The depth to see what I'm not saying? If you return it without overperforming, no grin, no comment, just the slow, knowing echo, you mirror her signal. And in that moment, two spells align. You are no longer two separate stories. You've entered the same page. Sign 7. The neural echo, unconscious mirroring. She shifts her posture, not to adjust, but to match yours. She sips her drink after you sip yours. She leans forward when you lean in. She starts using your phrases, your rhythm, as if your presence is slipping into her nervous system. And it is. This is not imitation. This is limbic mirroring, the unconscious alignment of two emotional systems when trust and desire begin to bloom. Here's what most never understand. The unconscious mind craves synchronization, because matching someone's behavior triggers safety, and safety is the first threshold to seduction. When she begins to mirror you without thinking, it's because her emotional mind has made a choice her conscious mind hasn't yet admitted. I feel safe here. I want to stay in his orbit. This is biological entrainment. Your nervous systems are starting to pulse in rhythm, but it gets deeper. She might not even notice she's doing it, and that's exactly what makes it irresistible. Because she's not performing, she's becoming comfortable in your cadence, becoming fluid in your presence, becoming open in your rhythm. And when mirroring shows up in her speech, when her tone lowers after yours does, when her pacing begins to slow to your calm, that's identity drift, a subconscious signal that she's shifting into rapport so deep, her body would rather be in sync with you than out of rhythm with itself. Here's your power move. Stay centered. Don't escalate. Don't call it out. Just observe. Hold the masculine frame. Because the moment you reflect her reflection, you collapse the boundary between you. And when two nervous systems reflect one another, there is no more seduction. There is only inevitability. Sign 8. The bold tease, direct flirting with mask removed. She laughs harder than the joke deserves. She pokes at you with mock insults wrapped in honey. She challenges you, playfully but purposefully. This isn't friendliness. This is strategic ignition. Because when a woman crosses into direct flirting, it means she no longer needs to disguise her interest. She's now testing your ability to handle it. Let's peel this open. Her flirtation comes in layered signals. A comment about your looks with a hint of sarcasm, a playful dare wrapped in irony, a suggestive remark that leaves room for denial. but only just enough. Why? Because women flirt not just to attract, but to measure your polarity. Her teasing is pressure, controlled emotional friction, and what she's watching for is simple. Do you laugh with strength or collapse into approval? Do you match her energy or become afraid of it? Do you escalate or hesitate? This is an energetic game of chicken. She's not asking for dominance. She's inviting you to hold the frame while she dances at the edge. Here's what men misunderstand. Flirting isn't small talk. It's ritualized polarity management. She's handing you a spark. She wants to see if you'll breathe life into it or let it die in your nervousness. The compliments wrapped in teasing, the playful accusations, they're not tests of your wit. They're tests of your spine. Because if you lean back with calm, confident mischief, if you tease her back without grasping, if you make her laugh with precision, you shift the entire dynamic. Suddenly, you're not responding to her seduction. You're steering it, and she feels it in her chest, in her smile, in her breath. This is the final permission slip, the part where the game stops being subtle. She wants to be seen. She wants to be matched. She wants to be undeniably noticed, and now you know exactly how to do it. For those who stayed until now, you've earned a bonus, something most men never see, because most never make it this far. But you did, which means you're not here to be entertained. You're here to be transformed. Bonus sign number 9, the boundary test, emotional intelligence as seduction. She touches your arm, and you gently move it away. She asks to meet late at night, and you say, "Not tonight." What happens next? Does she flinch, push, pout, or does she soften? Does she lean back with a knowing smile and say, "Okay"? Not because you said yes, but because you stood firm. This is the most overlooked seduction signal of all, and the most revealing. Because when a woman is truly seducing you, not manipulating, not performing, she doesn't just observe how you respond to her desire. She watches how you enforce your standards. Let's go deeper. The moment you set a boundary, your energy shifts. You move from reactive to sovereign, and that triggers one of two responses. The insecure woman collapses. The emotionally mature woman expands. That expansion is the signal. That shift is the seduction. Because it tells you, she's not just here for pleasure. She's here for presence. She values the gravity of who you are more than the ease of getting what she wants. And here's the hidden magic. Women feel safest and most attracted when they meet a man who can say no with calm. No anger, no over-explaining, just stillness, just certainty, just a boundary, delivered like a king's decree. And if she respects that moment, if she adjusts instead of resisting, slows down instead of rushing, meets your standard instead of testing your limit, then understand, she isn't seducing your ego, she's seducing your essence. And that is the rarest kind of pull. You've seen what most never will, felt what others ignore, heard the language behind the lips. You no longer guess, you know. And once you've seen the truth, you can't unsee it. Now the world moves slower. The smiles feel deeper. The air around her vibrates differently. Because you're not a passive observer anymore. You are the force behind the frame. Subscribe to the Stoic architect. Return. Watch again. Rebuild your perception. Because this wasn't content. This was command. And what comes next will not ask for permission. It will possess.